Hello chess friends, and welcome to Azarov's chess channel, and welcome to my basics in chess series with some middle game strategy again. Today we're continuing this mini series with the bishop pair, and today I wanted to talk about its favorable pawn structures while playing with the bishop pair. So you see, here I created already a position. This is a so-called symmetrical pawn structure. The problem while playing with the bishop pair in the symmetrical pawn structure is this, that you cannot create a passed pawn. So when we are playing with the bishop pair, we want to have an unsymmetrical pawn structure. So this pawn structure is not good for a bishop pair, because if we start to push some pawns here, maybe black can do sort of block it, and here on the other side we can also create a blockade, and it's hard here to create this pass pawn situation, which bishop and the bishop pair of course likes. So this is really something we have to take care of in the middle game. You don't want to have these pawn structures, but here I wanted to show you also another pawn structure. And although it seems that this pawn structure is not symmetrical, believe me, it is a symmetrical pawn structure, because again we have, you see, 4 pawns on the queen side, and we have here 2 pawns on the king side. So again, it's hard for black or white to create a pass pawn. So this is also a symmetrical pawn structure, so this could be a problem for a bishop pair. So let's see now examples from middle game and end game, how the bishop will work in this symmetrical pawn structures and how they work in this unsymmetrical pawn structures. So here I created this position, and it's a game in a game from Weinever Simon against Wilhelm Steinitz, and here we have a problem from black's perspective. Black has the bishop pair, but you see, this h pawn can only be pushed here to the square h4, and again we cannot create a passed pawn. So here, if black tries to push the d5, we can simply wait a little bit, and if black takes maybe d takes c4, then we of course also take d takes c4, and then we get the so-called static pawn structure, because again black can simply push maybe the a5 pawn, a4, but again he cannot create a passed pawn. So that's the problem here from black's perspective. Although there are good diagonals for the bishops here, maybe through f6 and through the e6, but as I said in my previous video, when we have the bishop pair, we want to stay on to the bishop pair, and we want to get some advance while having them, of course. So let's see now the continuation. You will see how black will have problems while playing against the symmetrical pawn structure. So here queen on e6 was played, now king on f1, we have king on f7, queen on e2, queen on d7, now queen on d2. Of course you have to be patient and careful, but you see, white is not trying, black is not trying to push pawns here, because as said, he cannot create this pass pawn situation. Meanwhile, he has also this very weak f4 pawn, which is, you see, this black bishop is really stuck to the defense of this f4 pawn, so it could be a problem in a long distance. So king on g6, and queen on c3, now h5, and now bishop on a1, h4, and you see now we have this static pawn structure. No pawn moves are possible, but while playing as white here, you have to take care. There are maybe here possible sacrifices with the bishop possible here on h3, so you have to watch for tactics here. So now queen on b2, we have queen on e7, queen on e2, queen on d7, queen on b2, d5. Now black desperately tries to create some passed pawns here. Now queen on e2, and now we have d4. And again, I hope you realize that this pawn structure is really static again. So now it's even harder for for black to create this pass pawn situation. Bishop on b1, bishop on e7, bishop on c1, bishop on d6 was placed, bishop on d2, king on f6, king on g1, bishop on e5, bishop on c1, and now queen on c8. Now we have to take care of this knight. Maybe this knight can find a good square in the game. So here king on f1 was played, queen on a6, king on g1, queen on a5, king on f1. So okay, white is happy with the draw here, but you see, I don't think that white can win this game because the pawn structure is really too static. It's not a dynamic one, and we don't have worse here as white. So queen on c3, bishop on d2, queen on b2, bishop on a5. Again, offering the trade of queens. Queen takes on e2, and now king takes on e2. And this was probably black's mistake, because now the position is really simplified, and now we are aiming here this very good square for our knight, this e4 square. So if we jump here with the knight, this will be a monster knight, and it can only be kicked away with this bishop on f5. So here king on e7, knight on c2, king on d7, knight on a3, bishop on d6, knight on b1, bishop on c7, bishop on e1, king on c8, now knight on d2, king on b7, and now knight on e4. Very good very good maneuver here by the knight. Now if black takes, then we of course take with this f pawn, and then we go king on f3, bishop on d2, and attacking this very weak f4 pawn here. King on b6, bishop on d2, a5, bishop on c1, a4, bishop on a3. We have a takes b3, and now of course this intermediate check, bishop on c5, we have king on a5, and now a takes b3, bishop on e5, knight on d2, bishop on h7, and now knight on b1. I hope you realize that this is completely winning here also for white, because he can now create a pass pawn, maybe here b4, and after a couple of moves maybe b5. So bishop on f5, knight on a3. We have bishop on d7, knight on c2. Now we are attacking even this other weak pawn. Bishop on c8, knight takes on d4, bishop takes on d4, bishop takes on d4, king on b4, and now bishop on e5, king takes on b3, bishop takes on f4, bishop on f5, and king on d2. In this position, black resigned, because of course black cannot capture this pawn on d3, and meanwhile we can grab these two pawns and of course win the endgame. So as said, let's remind us here. I hope you realize that this is also a symmetrical pawn structure. Bishops will have many troubles while playing against such pawn structures, and you should avoid it while having a bishop pair. So let's see now a favorable pawn structure. Now we see a game. It was played by Gennady Borosovich Sosonko against Vasily Smyslov. Here Vasily Smyslov got crushed very easily because he didn't understand the position probably very good, because you see we have here, although we have equal material, but now we have this 3-on-2 situation here on the queen side, and we have here now 3-on-4 on the king side. So this pawn structure is not a symmetrical one, and this could be good for a bishop pair. So here Vasily Smyslov took out the queen on c3, bishop takes on c3, bishop on e5, and now rook takes on e5. And this is now a really good position for the bishops, because as said, we can create here a pass pawn situation on the queen side, and that's the side that you should play on. So don't push pawns here on the king side. Try maybe g3, h3, and similar ideas. You can maybe play f3 in order to restrict maybe the knight's ability to jump here on g4 and g4 or maybe e4, but don't push these pawns too far, because they will be then an object of your opponent's attack. Meanwhile, you have to play on your side where you have your pawn majority, and this will be of course the queen side. So try to push and of course protect your pawn, but create the simple threats by simply pushing the pawn forward. So after rook takes on e5, now castling, rook on d1, bishop on c6, and now f3. This is the move. It's not a move forward, but as I said in my previous videos, with this bishop pair, you should really restrict your opponent's knight's mobility. So of course we are maybe preventing, as said, this e4 or maybe this g4 move. So now the knight is really out of game. It cannot also jump here on d5 because the c4 pawn is here, and now we want to create this pass pawn. So rook on f to d8, rook takes on d8, rook takes on d8, and now a4. We have knight on d7, rook on e2, now knight on c5. The black is trying here sort of a blockade system, maybe with b6 and a5, but now after b3, now we have b6 and now a5. Very strong move by Sosonko. Now he wants to create really this position opened, and here after bishop takes b takes a5, he can take, of course, bishop takes on a5, and then simply push again the pawn here on b4. So knight on b7. Now we have a6 again, just chasing the knight and kicking away the knight. Now knight on c5, we have b4, and of course knight takes on a6 is not possible because of the fork here with the move b5. Knight on a4, we have rook on d1, now rook on c8, bishop on d4, bishop on e8, and now bishop on b3. King on f8, and now of course we play also with our king on f2, f6, we have f4, we have b5, and now bishop takes a4, b takes a4, and now a very strong move, bishop takes on a7, now rook takes on c4, of course, but now Sosonko finds a very good move, bishop on c5 with the check, king on f7, and now rook on d6, and there's no way that black can prevent this pawn from promotion, because this rook is covering the c6 square, and the bishop cannot go into the game and save the game. So I hope you realized these ideas. When you have the symmetrical pawn structure, you could have troubles while playing with the bishop pair. So when you're in a middle game, watch out for your pawn structures, and try to create this unsymmetrical pawn structure while playing with the bishop pair. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Meanwhile, you can watch my other basics in chess videos with this middle game strategy, and of course with this mini series with the bishop pair. And you can also watch my chess tactics and chess puzzle series if you want to have a better understanding about the best chess tactics that can happen in a chess game. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, and chess is the best, of course.